Hello and welcome, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome to the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today, we're going to continue with the My Tiers series. We will be doing some Dynasty running backs today. In addition, I'm going to get a little bit of karma served up here. The person I routinely torture in their podcast is going to get a shot to torture me back. I have Nick Wilcox of the TBQ Sports podcast, and I routinely just raise hell in their live chat on their pods. So we'll see how this goes coming the other way. Maybe he can make my life as miserable as I make his. Thanks for joining me.
You don't make my life miserable.
Yeah,
you
David,
don't make my life miserable.
David seems like he takes it really seriously sometimes.
Listen, we all get on him. That's the fun part, actually. You're actually making it more fun.
Well, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Right. I'm so happy to be here. It's a pleasure and it's a privilege.
You want to take a minute here? Tell everyone where they can find you and your work.
So you guys can find me on Twitter at Nick_Wilcox25. Going to have a YouTube page as well, Big Mouth Fantasy Sports. Going to be dropping more content as the season comes along, and we're looking to help you guys win your leagues, best balls, championship rounds, all that great stuff. So,
fucking right. Sounds great. Well, I guess since we're doing running backs, it's always a long show, so we should probably get into it. If I get talking, we're going to get 5 of these done in 25 minutes. So leading off, we've got Cam Akers. Where do you like him?
So Cam Akers, I like the situation when it comes to him being a dynasty, but also, of course, a redraft. Where I have Akers right now, it's a good tier.
By situation, you mean their backfield is a barren wasteland of nobody?
Yeah, it's so when I was critical of Akers when he was coming off the torn Achilles the previous year, and he kind of proved to me down the stretch of this past season that he could be an asset. So if you're looking for an RB2-ish flex person, looking to trade for, or if you're looking to strictly just get him on your team at the moment, I think Akers is a solid bet to get you at least production from a position in which the Rams don't have much available as running backs. People are talking about Zach Evans, but I don't really see it. I see Akers, and that's one of their threats on offense.
Yeah, he seems to be coming at the right price too, so I don't disagree with that. I like it. Next up, we've got Saquon.
Saquon is going to be, he's in my great tier, but easily could be elite. Barkley really showed off what we were hoping he would be coming off the previously injured-ridden-ish season when he's come off the ACL. It's great to see him overall just be dominant. But overall, I love Barkley. Love him for this season, potentially next. Just due to the contract situation, you don't really know. I feel like he's going to get it done with the Giants, but you just never know. But for now, you cannot say Barkley is not, top tier.
You said elite, right?
Yep.
Okay. Next up, we spoke about this before. We have Brian Robinson. Antonio Gibson didn't make the cut because of DLF's ADP. If you have Antonio Gibson ranked higher, you can pretend this is Gibson. If not, you can tell me where you have Brian Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, both of these guys, like we talked about, are just going to be – they're in the same position. They're both below average, but continue getting that average position depending on what your build is at the moment. Obviously, if for a redraft situation, even when we're talking about that, it still could be a position in place where you can fill in that. But I like these guys below average. I'm going to put these guys below average for now.
Below average? Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Nick Chubb is next.
Nick Chubb is going to be a great tier at the moment. I really think Chubb can really be beneficial now that there's no Kareem Hunt here for dynasty purposes, can really have a great solid year. He's really consistent as well. And people are talking about Jerome Ford, but I don't see it. Have Chubb and be confident about it.
Yeah, if Chubb stays healthy, you're exactly right. Have him and be confident about it. Next up, we have, I forgot his name. It's James Conner. I drew a blank for a second there. I'm like, I know this guy, James Conner. There we go.
Well, James Conner
forgot his name.
So it's more about the situation than it is about James Conner. The situation in the Cardinals, there's no running back. They didn't draft I don't think they even drafted a running back. And
No, I think they
with
have
the
Keontae
situation,
Ingram from last year, and that's it.
right. So if you're if you're in a situation where you're trying to win now, Connor's a great player. If you're looking to in Dynasty, if you're looking to sell him, I would sell him just because you'll get something back in between, just to help your roster out versus like keeping a guy and he just ends up being just an average person.
Yeah.
So I think Connor will have a great situation to work with, but it's still a bad situation overall. So
Yeah, this offense is going to be bad. Kyler is going to be hurt. I expect him to miss the start of the season, and when he does come back, he's going to be useless because by then Call of Duty will already be out. So he's useless. Where did you have Connor? Sorry, I missed it.
Average.
Average. Yep, fair enough. Moving on to the new. He hasn't signed anywhere today, has he? I was at work. Free agent Cook.
No, I haven't heard anything about Cook as far as this recording.
All right, well, moving on to
with Cook, I mean, this is obviously like, so I'm just going on based on what I was saying about him before. He's still in a good tier because he did show some things for you last year where you should feel confident about. The only problem is if he's not in Minnesota anymore and he doesn't have that lead role anymore. I feel Cook needs that in order to continually be a great asset for you. Not to say Cook's going to fall off a hill, but if you're in dynasty mode, I would look to just see what I can get for him right now versus like holding the bag on him. Because with Cook, although he showed like he had, I said this on our podcast on TBQ the other day, but he had a 78% basically opportunity share, and he really didn't score double-digit touchdowns. So to me, like with Cook, he is a good asset for you in terms of if you're looking to win now, he's still a good asset. If he goes to Denver, I think that'd be a great spot for him because we don't know what the situation is going to be, and we don't understand like the ramifications of him per se. So I like Cook if he goes to Denver. If he goes to somewhere where it's a really muddled position like Miami, that's bad. So it could take him a tier down if he ends up going to Miami.
You know what Dalvin Cook is? He is a landmine. There are 32 starting running backs walking through a minefield, and one of them is going to get annihilated by Dalvin Cook. So I just hope it's nobody I roster. Next up, we've got A.J. Dillon.
A.J. Dillon, for me, unfortunately, is in a bad tier. It's not that I don't like A.J. Dillon. I just feel he would benefit from getting traded real life to a different team or just getting opportunity somewhere else. Because Aaron Jones, to me, is not solely going to lock the role down, but he's close to it. And they really like Aaron Jones a lot more than A.J. Dillon, even though they share the timeshare. They'll probably still do that this year, but I still expect Aaron Jones to still hold the role down for the moment. They may only hold him over just because, Aaron Jones is starting to creep up to that age 30-ish year soon. I know he's going to be 29 soon. So for dynasty purposes, like A.J. Dillon to me is bad, but he could work himself up if something, unforeseen happens.
I am out on Quadzilla as well. Moving on to someone I'm in on this year, we have J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins for me is definitely in a great tier. Really showed off what he really could give you as far as from Dynasty's perspective. And if you held on to him, he did a fantastic job. I really think it could be a piece that would be vital to a potential championship team because Baltimore is moving to a more vertical offense, and that will give Lamar hopefully less opportunities to run the ball and give J.K. Dobbins more opportunities when they get to the red zone. So you're hoping for more of a touchdown upside this year and potentially for at least the next couple of years if he stays in Baltimore.
Moving on, we have, I believe, the RB1 from last season, Austin Eckler.
Yep. Eckler to me is still overall, he's still a great tier. The only thing that stops him from being elite is a contract situation. For me, and obviously, like he's more of a receiving running back. But with that being said, the Chargers' offense is changing. The only thing that stops him really being for elite is he's not exactly entering into the same role, just due to potentially that offense getting a lot more vertical, throwing more deep balls down the field, and not checking down as much.
Yeah. If Herbert and the pass catchers ever stay healthy, his volume might disappear a bit. So yeah, that and the age and injury history. He's going to hit a cliff sooner or later, but for For now, I'd hold on to him. You're right, though. In Dynasty, I think that all keeps him out of the elite tier. Next up, we have Travis Etienne.
So for Travis Etienne, for me, it still isn't a great tier, and I'll tell you why. I think people are not giving him enough credit, which he's offense now. It's full of weapons now, and Etienne is feel like the receiving and is coming.
Well, your mic went screwy on us for a sec. You still there?
Yeah, still here.
Oh, that's weird. I can hear you, but you're like really echoey and pixelated sounding. It's strange.
Is that better?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Okay.
All right. Sorry. Continue.
Okay. So with ETN, people are not.
Yeah, you're better. You're better. Yeah.
Okay. With ETN, I feel like the receiving end is finally going to come this year, in which we were expecting that from his rookie season before he got hurt, like fake rookie season. But now entering into his third year now in the NFL, I just think the receiving work will definitely come more his way now, and I just think people are concerned about the tank drafting, but I wouldn't be as concerned because I still think ETN can be close to that full workhorse role and will still have getting catches out the backfield, still get a lot of touches. So for me, he is in a great tier in terms of just how I think he'll get utilized.
I agree to all of it. I mean, the parts I understood, you went full Optimus Prime voice there for the beginning of it, but I agreed with what I heard. Next up, we have Jahmyr Gibbs.
Gibbs, to me, great tier. Obviously, he's a rookie, but everything that points to him being in this tier is valid. First round draft choice. He has an Alvin Kamara type of comparison to me. He's going to have a great role in which he'll get some receiving work. The touchdowns won't be as plentiful because David Montgomery will still be there. However, I still feel that if you're whether you're doing a startup dynasty, whether you're doing a redraft dynasty with your rookies, like Gibbs is going to be a great person that you're going to want on your teams. Could lead you to a championship, in my opinion.
He could explode early too with Jameson Williams out. He could just be on pace for an insane amount of targets. Next up, Breece Hall. Not really sure if he'll be healthy. I don't suspect he will, but for Dynasty, we don't really care.
No, we don't. Great, and could work his way into elite. The only thing that's stopping him from being in my elite tier at the moment is because, we want to see him, really get more worked in. If you're banking on him being elite, and that's no problem to me. I just think at the moment he's in my great tier just due to we don't want to see any complications with the knee. I don't feel it's the same situation as Devontae, and we'll get into that. But overall, I think that Hall is still a great running back Joe want. He was still on pace for great things before he got hurt.
The fact that they have so many running backs there and keep drafting them is kind of worrisome. Maybe they know something we don't, but for now, you're right. Great with the potential to be elite. Next, we have Najee Harris.
Najee Harris for me. If this was rookie year Najee Harris, I would probably be more all about it. But to me, Najee Harris has dropped to my average tier. And it's just due to the only thing that stops him from being from even my great tier is that I want to see the receiving work that we saw in his rookie year when he had Ben Roethlisberger as a quarterback. I understand Ben Roethlisberger doesn't play for him anymore. It's more for me with Harris, he needs that in order to be more higher echelon in these tiers, because for you to be that type of running back in the NFL, you're going to need that anyway. We got Jalen Warren, who I think is a nice piece complement to have on any dynasty roster at the moment, just because I think if Harris does anything that he was probably doing in the first half of the year, I mean, he had stuff in his foot and stuff like that, but overall, I just think Harris is a guy that I'm not high on. And it's just due to all those things.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to see if he can do it without Ben Roethlisberger at quarterback. Will he be able to get targets without a statue back there? King Henry is next.
King Henry for me. He's still, man, when it comes to Dynasty, it's tough because you're just, you want to root for Henry. He's in a good tier when it comes to Dynasty. Just because one more season of him being elite would obviously turn heads, and that's what you'll try to sell. But this could easily go the wrong way. The Titans offense hasn't wowed me enough to reconsider them being in good game scripts, and Henry needs those in order to really be in that higher tier. So if you have him on your roster, you want to keep him just for the run. But if you're not in the run, I would try to get him for what you can get for him.
All righty. I think we might have to pick up the pace a little here.
Let's do it.
Khalil Herbert.
Khalil Herbert, bad.
Yeah, too many mouths to feed in that backfield, and they could all win the job. Josh Jacobs.
To me, is good, but he's just good to me because, again, another running back, just like Henry, relies on game script in order to really be effective. And I don't like the Raiders' offense.
His face or Twitter post today made it seem like he might be considering holding out too, and that's kind of scary. It didn't work out too well for Le'Veon Bell. So
Nope.
now we have the touchdown regression candidate of the year, Jamal Williams.
Yeah, below average. Could work himself in that average. The Saints, it's just one of those teams. I don't know how they're going to become a top 12 offense versus what Jamal Williams was going to be.
Yeah, they're not. That's the answer. They are not. James Cook.
James Cook, below average. There's a glimmer of hope, but it's overall like Josh Allen's their goal line running back, and James Cook, he can get some things in between the lines, but everyone's kind of hyping him up, and I'm not about it.
Yeah, Josh Allen. That's exactly right. Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones, to me, is good, can work himself to great. Really, I think he has a great opportunity to really solidify himself as one of the great running backs if he does great things with his efficiency and his volume upcoming. For Dynasty, like, you're hoping he has that so you could trade him and get whatever you can get for him. But if you're not contending, trade him.
Yeah, exactly. I think the age is the only thing that keeps him in tier 3.
Yep.
Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara, same thing. Good, can be great. With Kamara, there's just so many inconsistencies with him in his game. And even when he had the volume last year, it just wasn't wowing anybody. And it wasn't in those greater tiers of other running backs that had the volume and the usage. So, and the looming suspension, of course, coming up. So,
yeah, his worst efficiency season of his career and probably a lengthy suspension on the way. That's probably what keeps him out of the great tier. Next, we have the guy they should have just put on the cover of Madden because apparently he's the greatest player in the NFL, Alexander Madison.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to cut him as an average at the moment. Could work himself to good. We see Madison when he's had the workhorse role. At least with some of these other guys on the list, we haven't really seen enough of their workhorse role. But with Madison, we know how the workhorse role potentially, 3-down roll back. So could work himself up more, but the hype is getting crazy, in my opinion.
Sell him. That's what I say. Sell him. CMC.
Yeah, elite, closest thing to Damian Thomason. Next.
Yeah, that's an easy one. Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon, that's tough. I would say Joe Mixon's good. He needs to find a way to wow us more besides having one game of where you have 4 or 5 touchdowns in a game last year. Other than that, if you take away that game, he was really average. So
I love that game. I had him in my lineup in that game. In that same week, I started Justin Fields. The two of them combined scored like 120 points for me, and the two of them combined outscored my opponent by like 35 points. It was awesome.
Talking about DFS?
No, in my seasonally, my work league. Yeah, it's great. Next up, we have David Montgomery.
Montgomery, to me, below average, can work himself to average. He's just a goal line back at the moment with potential for more. But I mean, Detroit gave him a lot of money, but I had to believe it to see it with my own eyes.
Yeah, he's younger Jamal Williams, basically.
Yep.
Isaiah Pacheco.
Pacheco is going to be a good running back for me, and because I have hope that because he's in a Kansas City offense that's going to fluidly give you opportunity to score touchdowns. That's why the only reason why he's in there, besides being an average. Obviously, Pacheco is more of a in between tackles type of running back, but overall, like I do like the potential upside that he has.
Next, we have Samaje Perine. I took a bunch of shares of him early on and tried to acquire him because I think Javonte misses significant time. He's at the point now where his cost, like he's being drafted in best ball, like he's just the presumed starter. So I think I'm
Yep.
out now. But what do you think about Perrine?
Yeah, I mean,
Ryan?
yeah. P Ryan for me is average, just like the Connor situation. Only there's a little bit more mystery slash upside because the Denver offense might be on the come up, and I am nervous about Javante, and we'll get to that. But it's overall like, yeah, like he's a presumed potential starter right now.
Damian Pierce.
Average for me could potentially work to good. The only thing that's missing from Pierce's game is he going to have a chance to get some receiving work? If he does, and Houston's going to probably find himself potentially in games where he's going to be throwing the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Those are the only things that are stopping me from having Pierce a little bit more higher than normal.
Yeah, it's going to be rough for that offense this year. Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard to me is a great running back. I am not concerned if they bring another running back. Dallas does. If they don't, I'm not concerned either way. I love Pollard. I love what he'll do for potentially this offense when given all the work and the opportunities. And if they don't bring a running back in, even better, and he has a chance to be elite. Obviously, if you have him right now, you ain't doing nothing with him. You just got to find out what's going to happen.
I like him. I don't like his current price tag. I think he's being drafted as his ceiling, but I think I'm just a low man on Tony Pollard.
That's fair enough. I just think that Pollard, for me, like when you got a guy like him that can do all this stuff, even when he had someone taking the carries, just imagine what he can do with the whole workhorse role.
Yeah, until they re-sign Zeke.
Potentially.
Next up, we have running back Jesus.
Love that. Bijan. Elite of the elite. Dynasty RB1 right now. Overall number one right now. And we just seen it. He has a bunch of different running backs all together, possibly in one. So everyone loves Bijan. I love Bijan. I just think he'll be a great player this year.
Yeah, I don't disagree, even though that offense is a little scary with Desmond Ridder, but he's just that good.
You know what? I think Atlanta is one of the offenses that people got to watch out for because I think they're due for some positive regression.
Well, then they should win the division because it sucks.
I know.
Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders, for me, is a good running back. He finds himself in a good situation. The only thing that scares me from him going from good to being great is because I don't like Deuce. I think he's annoying. And overall, I think with Chuba Hubbard potentially still in the wing, could still take some snaps from running back shares from him and snaps. We'll just see. I still like Sanders, but those are some things that stop him from being the next tier.
Yeah, I think I'm higher on him. I like him, but I understand why people aren't all that high on him. It's probably a high-end RB2, but we'll see. Maybe the rookie quarterback will dump off to him and feed him a ton of carries. Next up, Ramondre Stevenson.
Oh, that's great for me. I mean, Stevenson for me, a lot of people, in particular for me, I've been a real stickler about Patriots players in general, but they really don't have nobody. And when they find themselves in those tougher games, because they have the hardest schedule, I think, in the NFL, Stevenson's going to find himself getting a lot more of that work and getting a lot more receiving touches. If you have him on your dynasty roster, he's going to come through for you, I feel. I'm not concerned about anybody else on that roster at the moment. And I just think sky's the limit for Stevenson.
I don't disagree, but a Patriots running back scares the living shit out of me.
Yep.
Next up, we have Mr. Glass, DeAndre Swift.
Swift for me is a good running back. Finds himself in a position where the Eagles still have the number one offensive line from the previous NFL season. You find yourself in getting these opportunities. Now, people are going to tell you that Swift is not going to be catching as many passes, stuff like that. I just think the reason why they traded for him is because of that. I think he'll find himself getting a lot more touches and work. His draft price right now is absolutely pretty low. Take a gamble on him. And same thing if you're looking to trade for a guy that can potentially get you some bigger RB2 games for Dynasty.
Yeah, and then when Rashad Penny goes down for the season in week 2, he should
go.
have the backfield to himself, assuming he doesn't also go down for the season. Jonathan Taylor.
We don't got to talk about this much. It's a great running back. The only thing that stops him from being elite right now is the threat of Anthony Richardson. And the Colts offense in general. Can Anthony Richardson unlock this offense up even more? And if he does, Taylor will find himself in elite tier when we talk about this next year.
Kenneth Walker.
One of the mysteries surrounding him is Charbonnet. But I think he's overall still a good running back at the moment. Potentially can be great. I am a little concerned about the Charbonnet situation because of, Charbonnet can receive the ball. He can be more of a goal line back. This could be a 1A, 1B situation. And Seattle's offense is more well-balanced with both of these guys here.
Rachaad White.
Rachaad White, for me, is average, can work himself to good. I liked he'll receive passes out the backfield. I'm just not in love with this Bucs situation. Who knows what's going on with Baker Mayfield, and who knows with this offense. Baker is the real question mark here for the Bucs offense. If Baker can be anything like he was last year down the stretch and that glimmer of hope and anything that people drafted him out of when he drafted, I think the Bucs can be a better team, but I don't know about Rachaad White in this whole situation. It's very murky.
And to wrap it up, Javonte Williams.
Yeah, Javonte, for me, I was big on him before the injury. I think a lot of people were. And it's just unfortunate. I would say if you have him in Dynasty, you need to hold him. And it's only because you don't know what's going to happen with this injury. I just think if it's anything like the Barkley situation, then you have to keep him because that's the upside for him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, I would not sell him right now because you're not going to get much of him.
No. Yeah, you got to hold on and hope I don't expect much of him this year, so he's a great buy low candidate for this year if you can afford to eat him and play for next year. All right, well, that wraps up. Oh, sorry, what tier did you have him in?
Oh, yeah, that's right. I had him in the average because although he's not an average running back, he is for this season, and I think he's going to be more of a better running back next year.
Fair enough. All righty, that wraps that up. You want to take a minute again to tell everyone where they can find your work?
Absolutely. So on Twitter at Nick_Wilcox25. And then if you guys can feel free to subscribe on Big Mouth Fantasy Sports on YouTube. That'd be great. Going to be having a lot more of these coming out as things come about. Going to be starting up this week. So feel free to subscribe. Hit the ring bell too.
Are you going to go right now and check out that Mighty Ducks documentary?
I'll tell David.
He won't know what the hell's going on. So. All right.
What? I thought this was football. No, it's hockey.
All right. Well, this has been my tiers on the Dynasty running backs with Nick Wilcox. Once again, I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and this has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Thank you to Nick for joining me, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Take care.
Peace.